Good evening, everyone. I see the time is 5:30. It is Monday, April 7th. It's a regular council meeting, and I'd like to call it to order at this time. I'd like to acknowledge that this meeting takes place on the traditional territory of the Stahelis. There is no public hearing tonight, so we move to the next agenda item, which is introduction of late items, and I believe Corporate Officer, you've one to recommend. Please proceed.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to introduce a late item, which is a report to council from myself regarding release of a closed meeting resolution from this morning. I'd like to add that as item 15F, reports from staff.
Thank you, Corporate Officer. Could I have a motion to add that to our agenda? Moved by Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Swinbands. Discussion to that? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor of adding that to the agenda? Thank you. Are there any other late items to introduce this evening? Seeing none, I'll move to approving the agenda as we've just amended it.
Moved, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Fascio, seconded by Councillor Vital. Discussion on that motion. Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. Next item on our agenda is declarations of conflict of interest. Are there any councillors that wish to declare a conflict this evening? Seeing none, I'll move to item 7 on our agenda, which is adoption of council minutes. Moved by Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Swinbands. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that is approved unanimously. Business arising from the minutes. Seeing none, I'll move to delegations, petitions, and there are no delegations this evening. Is that correct, Corporate Officer? Thank you. Which takes us to correspondence. Moved by Councillor Fascio to receive the correspondence, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Discussion on the correspondence, or receiving the correspondence motion. Seeing none, I'll call the vote, and the correspondence is received. Business arising from correspondence. Councillor Vital, I see your hand first.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. Just relating to the Canadian Award for Financial Reporting, I just want to take some time to congratulate our CFO and his team on this very, very prestigious award. Well done, Scott and staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vital. Any other business arising from correspondence this evening? Seeing none, I'll move to reports from councillors. Councillor Fascio.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a brief report here. First of all, I'd like to took a trip down to the new renovated boat launch last week, and I was very impressed with the public boat launch pamphlet that our staff have put together. Excellent report. It has all the dates when the staff are at the boat launch, and also what I like is the page where it's be prepared, be smart, be aware, be safe, and be informed. Excellent pamphlet. Thank you very much. Myself, His Worship, and our CEO on Wednesday the 19th, that would be, of course, March, attended the Agassiz Harrison Community Resilience Planning Workshop with Fraser Health, and found it to be a very rewarding workshop, and a lot of good discussions, roundtable discussions came about. How can we best improve the healthcare in our communities? So that was very well accepted. and a lot of good input came from that session. And at the Fraser Valley Regional District on the March the 27th, we had a half-hour tabletop emergency get together on how to evacuate the room in case of an emergency, and we all filled out emergency papers with our emergency contacts and names in case I fell down the stairs. They all fell all over me. And then there was a muster. We had a location where there's a muster station to go to in case of the emergency. And I would like to suggest, of course I'm suggesting this, but maybe our CAO has already got this in place, but being that we have the meetings here at the at the village office, there is a muster station there in the parking lot, but I think after this tabletop presentation that we did, it might be a good idea to have an emergency plan for this hall, and also have a muster station close by where we can all gather, God forbid, in case of an emergency. But I'll leave that in the hands of our experienced staff. That's the end of my report, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Faccio. Any other, Councillor Jackson or Councillor Vital? We'll stay traditionally and we'll go around.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. March 20th, I attended the Healthy Communities meeting and wanted to pass on that District of Kent is hosting an Easter egg hunt Saturday, April 19th from 9:30 to 10:30 at Pioneer Park. Earthwise Agassiz reported that food needs continue to rise in our communities. So please check out volunteer programs at Earthwise. There is an opportunity to grow your own food by providing a certain number of volunteer hours to Earthwise. And I do want to point out that there has been an increase in the number of individuals who are accessing our food bank. And as such, Community Services is considering expanding the days and times of operations. March 21st, I, along with Council, attended a meeting with our MLA, Tony Luck. April 2nd, I attended the Letsamot C2C Forum, and a couple of notices from there that Fraser Valley Regional District have submitted a resolution to Lower Mainland LGA relating to illegal dumping on Crown lands. And they are requesting that the province to develop a policy to support a community-based funding model in support of cleanup efforts on Crown land. And motion was passed at our C2C that a letter of support will also be forwarded. We had an update from BC Transit, and they provided a really good update and an encouraging update on the long anticipated bus route from Mission to Agassiz along Highway 7. Public engagement dates later this month and in May will take place with suggestions on bus stops along the route. They will be posted, those locations, dates and times. And it is anticipated that the startup of this new route would be early 2026. The Stehelis New Health Center should be opened early this summer. Also, there was a letter from Tyrone McNeil, who is the emergency planning specialist for the Lower Fraser Floodplains Coalition. The letter has been forwarded to the Premier. It seems that there has been some discussion that there may be a pullback of funding for floodplain solutions. And Tyrone McNeil's letter certainly speaks to that. District of Kent submitted a resolution to Lower Mainland LGA requesting the province supports this BC flood strategy and investing in floodplain solutions to support dialogue between local governments, First Nations, and provincial staff to ensure funding for the floodplain strategy implementation. And that's my report, Mayor Towland. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vital. Moving to Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Looks like we've been pretty busy these days. On the 18th of March, I had Harrison Tourism Society getting things all ready for this year. And of course, Stephanie will be away for a while. July the 1st meeting, we had our first meeting for July the 1st, so there's a lot of work to be done on that one. And we're hopeful that some of the businesses this year will come on board and put in some nice floats in the parade. We really need them. On March the 21st, of course, we met with Tony Luck. March the 24th was an RMI development meeting. And then we followed it up on April the 3rd for another development strategy meeting. So we're moving ahead on that very, very quickly. April the 3rd was Communities in Bloom. Our committee is coming together. We have 2 more people to invite tonight. So we're going to be looking for a little bit more financial support, which I'll talk about next week. And of course, we had this short closed meeting this morning. Just want to remind you on May the 3rd is Earth Day at the Plaza, and we will have a table there. It's going to be a very, very good event that the staff will put on again. And then hopefully on May the 26th, we're going to have a return and have a beach cleanup, try to get the children from the school involved. And then when they do the little cleanup, come over to the resort hotel and hopefully, like they did in the past, they'll have a hot dog and a drink for them. So we're looking forward to that. Thank you, Worship. That's my report.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. I'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is a report from Mayor. A number of meetings, the minutes are committee meetings, so minutes are following, age-friendly, and also participating with Councillor Jackson on the Resort Development Strategy Committee. And that work is coming along. It's been really exciting projects to sort of dream big sometimes about things to enhance the tourism potential of Harrison Hot Springs. Very ably assisted by our staff at that because, yeah, without their support, keeping it real and knowing what's practical and within the realm of possibility really helps focus our discussions. And for the rest of council, this will be coming for council's consideration before the end of April. As I understand, we have a deadline to submit a draft strategy to the province at the end of the month. A couple of other meetings I attended. I went to the Harrison Hot Springs Elementary School Parent Advisory Committee meeting last week. A bit of a follow-up to the letter they wrote and was discussed at council last time about off-leash dogs in the playground or in the schoolyards and the problems that creates for the school. Also circled back a little bit with them on sort of the where the school's at, and one class is in a portable, the daycare is in a couple of portables, kind of bursting at the seams with a building that is a little bit older. So getting their thoughts on whether or not a new school is on the horizon, and I'll probably try and see if I can get myself to a school board meeting to start advocating or asking some questions about where their capital planning is for the Harrison Hot Springs School. I know it's not a village responsibility, but some of these things may impact the village itself and give us some more options going forward in the future for other things. Also attended the Letsamot C2C joint meeting with Councillor Vital. That was a very good meeting last week. And the other one was Resort RCC Mayors, which I've heard the acronym described, Resort Community Collaborative, Resort Collaborative Communities. It's mayors for the resort communities that participate in the resource development strategy. Comparing some notes there amongst mayors and seeing how the tourism season's going. The general sense is a lot of unease and uncertainty. A lot of winter reports from the winter tourism with obviously weather and snowpack related, but a lot of uncertainty with American tourism and if that's going to be impacted by the unsettled nature of our border relationship with the United States at this time. So lots of questions and getting some support from the province that the resource development strategy and the RMI funding that comes with it, the province is very much 100% behind that and certainly supports the policy basis for that program, whereby essentially the accommodation tax pays for enhancements to tourism facilities, and that doesn't come out of the tax base of local municipalities. So lots of support provincially, so that's encouraging. So that sort of doubles down and encourages certainly our Councillor Jackson and myself on the Resource Development Strategy Committee to take that work very serious and come up with some good plans for the next several years. And that is my report from the mayor. I think that takes us to item 14 on the agenda. Reports from and minutes from committees and commissions. Can I get a motion? Corporate officer, do we need to do these separately or can they come as a group?
Thank you. My recommendation is that the first three just be taken together. They're just for information for council. And then the item D, I'd be happy to read out the report.
Move, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Fascio, the first three. Seconded by Councillor Jackson. Discussion on the motion to receive for information A, B, and C on the agenda item 14. No discussion. I'll call the vote. All in favor, and those minutes are received. Corporate officer, could you take us into item D?
Thank you. Item 14D is a report from the Environmental Advisory Committee. They met earlier this month on April 2nd, and after Council's recent adoption of the new council procedure bylaw, staff is completing this process with all committees as they meet to bring their terms of reference into compliance with the new bylaw. In addition to that, the committee discussed Bear Smart and a potential hazardous waste collection day to help residents properly dispose of items such as paint solvents. In addition to that, planning is underway for the Earth Day in May event, and there's a list of confirmed attendees there for council to receive for information. So the recommendation is that council approve the following recommendations from the Environmental Advisory Committee: that the updated Environmental Advisory Committee terms of reference be endorsed as amended by correcting section 4C so that it references section 4A, and that council directs staff to investigate having a hazardous waste collection day with a centralized depot for residents to deposit waste such as paint solvents or hazardous materials that cannot be disposed of through normal waste collection or recycling.
Thank you, Corporate Officer. Could I have a motion to that effect? Moved by Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Schweinbetz. Any discussion on the motion? Councillor Faccio.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a comment in regards to the great idea. So, regarding the waste, is this something that when it goes to our staff, they have to, if there's a financial side to this, they may have to amend the budget in some way because those bins are very expensive for collection, and they have to take them away as well, wherever they, God knows where they go to get rid of all this stuff. But I've just wondered, it's just a comment, that's all. Nothing, don't need a motion.
Thank you, Councillor Fascio. I was reading that as staff will be investigating and whether there's an ability to sort of coordinate with others and whether there's a cost or not, I'll leave it. That'll be part of the investigation. I would
Thank you.
presume. Did I kept that right? As I'm seeing nods? Okay. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. And that takes us to item 15 on our agenda, reports from staff. Can I turn that over to you, Corporate Officer?
Thank you. The first report is from myself regarding release of closed meeting resolutions. So the purpose of this report is to release a resolution that was passed at the special closed council meeting held on March 17, 2025. Bylaw enforcement services in the village are provided by a contractor through a service agreement. From January to May and from September through December, the contractor works limited hours with service increasing during the summer months. The motion that is being brought out today from closed will bring bylaw enforcement up to full-time levels in May, June, and September. So the recommendation before council is that the following closed meeting resolution from the March 17, 2025 special closed council meeting be received for information. That the bylaw enforcement agreement be increased to full-time hours from May to September at a cost of up to $12,000 to be funded from surplus.
Moves, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Fascio, seconded by Councillor Vital. Discussion to the motion. Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. Corporate Officer, next item when you're ready.
Our next item is item 15B, report from our Chief Financial Officer regarding request for statutory municipal consent for a Fraser Valley Regional District Transit Service Area Amendment Bylaw.
CFO.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. The Fraser Valley Regional District manages the sub-regional transit service area for Chilliwack, Harrison, Kent, and Electoral District D. And then each year, the funding for that service comes in the form of a requisition that is sent to the village, and basically we collect the funds on behalf of the FVRD. In the past, the maximum amount that could be requisitioned for the whole transit area was $312,500. FVRD staff have determined that this max needs to increase to allow for potential of future increases. The FVRD staff are basically proposing to increase the maximum amount requisitioned annually to be 2 cents per 1,000 of assessed value, or $754,120 per year. The exact requisitions will continue to be set in the annually approved financial plan. So as a note, this is not saying that we're going to be requisitioned this amount. It is allowing for the requisition of up to that amount in the future. But again, each year the FVRD will set their budget based on their financial plan. Another thing to note is that this requisition amount is split between the participating municipalities, so it's not just the village's responsibility, and the allocations to each participating municipality won't change. So the motion, or the recommendation in front of council today, is that the Village of Harrison Hot Springs Council give its consent by way of formal resolution to Fraser Valley Regional District Sub-Regional Transit Service Area Amendment. That's a mouthful. Bylaw number 1757, 2024, and that Village Council directs staff to send a letter to the Fraser Valley Regional District confirming the same.
Moved by Councillor Vital, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Discussion. Councillor Schweinmans.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. Through you to CFO, I guess I'm stuck on the top line dollars. It just sounds like a lot of money. So can you confirm then, CFO, if we're paying, like what is our proportion of that current $312,000, potentially going up to $700,000? What is our village's proportion? Because I always thought BC Transit was self-subsidizing, or the users would subsidize it themselves through their tickets, their ride tickets. That's the first question. The second one is with regards to how do we know that we're being well served? Has there been a survey in the last generation? Should we do a survey? Can we, maybe through the FERD or through BC Transit, suggest that they do a rider survey to make sure that our riders are being served properly?
Thank you, Councillor Schweinbenz. CFO.
Thank you, Your Worship, through to Councillor Schweinbenz. To answer your first question, I'll give an example of the anticipated 2025 requisition to the Village of Harrison Hot Springs is going to be about $108,000. Of the total requisition for the transit area is $314,000. So that was, again, bumping up onto the previous maximum. The Fraser Valley Regional District, in their 5-year financial plan, of course, there's a lot of moving parts here, but they don't anticipate within the next 5 years to hit that maximum. So this is really allowing for future growth, so they don't have to come back every couple of years to increase it. As far as your question about has there been surveys done, I'm not really aware of what's been done on surveys or analysis, but I know that the FERD, in partnership with BC Transit, does have data, and actually currently there is a BC Transit fare review being conducted. The FERD, BC Transit, and the partnership municipalities will all be at the table to kind of determine what this looks like, to try to get fares figured out that are fair for riders, but also as close to cost sustaining as possible.
Thank you, CFO. Councillor Schweinbenz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to
clarify your
follow up,
question?
if I could.
Sure. Sure. While you're
So I mean, we're paying out of the $312,000 requisition throughout the FERD, we're paying a third of that, over $100,000, and could go up to $200,000. And I'm just not sure that we're being served well. And it'd be nice if we had a mechanism either through the FERD or BC Transit to survey our riders. We have a changing community, a younger community, that we don't all have cars. I appreciate that we now have buses potentially going to Mission, but I just want to make sure that our populace is being well served in the number of stops it has and the amount of service we have. We have a lot of transient workers here, and I'd like to see a survey done by BC Transit for our area if we're giving up that much money subsidizing the ridership.
Thank you, Councillor Schweinbenz. Councillor Fascio.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to follow up on that, in my previous reports, and with respect to our councillor who wasn't on council then, I believe the ridership for this area is about 72%. It's one of the highest out of all the areas. That's well used. Before we had BC Transit here, we used to have the Greyhound bus line, which does this area very well. But this new route has been improved with more stops and ridership since it came into force. And I am anticipating that part of this increase will also be looking at the new, as you've mentioned, the new route from Agassiz to Mission as well. So I believe BC Transit, and I believe the amount of money, the fares that they charge are very small in comparison to other areas, but I think it's a well-used service, and we definitely do need it in this village. And it will obviously, as ridership increases, they will have to increase either the size of the bus or bring in maybe 2 buses instead of 1, but that's looking into the future. But I believe in the 2025, 2050, which I may have given to you to look at, I think there is a mention there, the BC Transit, with a survey as well on that one. So they had surveys. We've had them here in this hall in open houses as part of collaboration of other services that were on that evening, but BC Transit was here as well on at least 1 or 2 occasions to give out their what they're doing for the community in this area. So it's I can't give exact numbers, but if I will bring that up if it's something that but a survey has been done, so what more than what they've done, I'm not sure could happen, but I will bring that up as part of a question that's come out of this council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fascio. I know attending the Letsamot C2C, the representatives from BC Transit, they do collect a lot of data on ridership, and when I was impressed with when they're considering that new route from Agassiz to Mission. They're looking at where the stops are for obviously safety reasons, but also maximize ridership and convenience. But they're able to track essentially who's on the bus for how long and how often it's getting used, and if people are riding between 2 stops or the whole length or other things. So they do track that information and they make adjustments from time to time. It might be valuable to know how the ridership is actually happening right now on the road between Harrison and Agassiz, and how it's being used by Harrison residents. They have been invited to the Environment Committee open house on May 3rd as well. So there'll be opportunities to ask them straight up, and if don't get a satisfaction, or maybe those conversations could generate a survey or get a better sense of ridership at that time. CAO Cook.
Thank you, Your Worship. You actually stole my thunder there regarding the invitation to the Environmental Committee open house. But I also did want to mention, I believe it was Councillor Fascio had mentioned about the fare review through BC Transit. There will be a opportunity for a engagement with BC Transit, a council to engage with BC Transit coming up, I believe next month. So you can prepare your questions and all the data that you're looking for and have it ready for them when they come out.
Thank you, CAO Cook. Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Talon, through you to our CFO. Just for some clarification, the amount that would be the responsibility of Harrison, how is that collected? Does that appear on individual property tax notices, or does the village remit that amount to the regional district? Thank you.
CFO.
Thank you. Through to Councillor Vidal. This will come in the form of the Fraser Valley Regional District requisition, and that's a separate line item on the tax notice. So the transit is just a portion of the district requisition that we get every year. And so we collect on their behalf and then remit back to them.
Thank you. Yes, that's what I thought. So what appears on tax notices, although there's not a specific breakdown, it is related to all of the services that we contract the regional district for. Correct?
CFO.
Yes, absolutely. That's correct. That includes transit. It includes parks. It includes such things as administration, building inspection, all sorts of stuff.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I have one question. Certainly got my attention yesterday morning when I was reading this, that there was an administrative change to double the budget. So that got my attention, how that was described. But on page 43 of our agenda package, the staff report for the regional district it has another 2 numbers. And I just want to make sure I understand, in the costs section on page 43 or page 161, but also 43 of our agenda package, it talks about financial plan increase of approximately 48,000, and then another number 22,000 above something else. Could you help me put those 2 numbers in context with the 300,000 and the $700,000 figures previously?
Yes, absolutely, Your Worship. What they're saying here is basically that the requisition for 2025 is approximately $48,000 more than it was in 2024, and that's the total requisition. So we don't get that whole increase, but that'll be shared. And then they're saying it's approximately $22,000 above the current maximum requisition. So basically, the previous maximum requisition of 312,000, they're actually over that now. So brings the need to amend the bylaw.
So I see. So the actual changing to the 750 is, well, I wouldn't call it administrative, but it gives some flexibility for the next several years that there's room for, to absorb increased costs as we go forward. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor, and that carries unanimously. Next item, corporate officer, when you're ready.
We have a report, excuse me, we have a report from our Director of Operations regarding McCombs Drive recreation opportunities.
Director of Operations.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. Feedback received during the Parks and Trails Master Plan process identified the desire for increasing and formalizing trail networks and connectivity within the village and identifying the desire for additional recreational activities. In discussing potential projects with the Resort Development Strategy Committee, sites on McCombs Drive were proposed. The village owns a 1-acre parcel of land along McCombs Drive adjacent to an additional parcel in which the village has a crown grant from the province for recreational use. Both parcels of land are designated as agricultural land reserve. To formalize and construct recreational trails on ALR lands, a transportation and utility use application must be submitted to the ALC for approval. The village's Resort Development Strategy Committee will be submitting project proposals to the province to utilize Resort Municipality Initiative funds over the next 3 years. These sites were identified by staff as an option to add outdoor recreation-based opportunities. On the provided map, the 1-acre parcel is on the east side of the map of Chestnut Avenue, and the other parcel, the 80-acre lot, is just south of that one. Financial considerations for the transportation and utility use application to the ALC is a fee of $1,500, which can be funded through existing budget. And the recommendation of this report is that that staff be authorized to submit a transportation and utility use application to the Agricultural Land Commission for the parcels of land located along McCombs Drive.
Move, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Faccio, seconded by Councillor Swinebands. Discussion on that motion. I see several hands. Councillor Faccio.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just for clarification through you to our staff, I know where the 1 acre is opposite the community garden there, but the other acreage to the south, is that the full 80 acres that the village has under a lease agreement? Is that part of it, or is it just another acre?
Thank you. Through you, Councillor Fascio. Yeah, that's correct. That's the 80-acre lot that's just south of the 1-acre parcel on the map.
Plus the 80?
It would be like right on the east side of McCombs.
We've got the 180 on, excuse me with my back to you, sir. We've got the 1 acre on opposite Chestnut, which you've had for years. Now from then south, we have the 80-acre parcel that we have under a lease. Is that including that?
That's including that one, yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay,
correct.
so if I might, I'm all for this is great. We have to apply first anyway. But I think if the application comes through, that we should be in discussions with the Fraser Valley Regional District at the appropriate time to, as they're already patrolling and looking after a section of the east sector, that would be something they may want to take on as well. And of course, it's a requisition which will be cheaper. Then I don't think we have the staff to do a maintenance of all the many more trails and keep up with them as time goes on. So I'm just saying that if this application, it goes through the ALC, that our staff have discussions with the FVRD regarding them taking over those extra trails and maintenance like they do now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fascio. So that's sort of putting a marker down, if I understand. It's not an amendment to the motion. It's just, if we get to a good place with the ALC, we'll have a subsequent conversation. All right, thank you. Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. Through you to our Director of Operations. Just one question. Should this application be submitted at that time? Is it a requirement to include what the usage would be for all of those lands, and including the trail network? Or at a later date, should this application be approved, then the possibility of some other uses of parts of it will come back to council for approval. Is that correct?
CAO Cook.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, so when you make an application, you have to be very clear in what the intended use is, because there's a board of on the ALC that need to make an informed decision. Alterations or modifications to an agreement could be challenging. So if there's a change in direction, I would say that we want to know that now, because if we're going to be making that application, then we should make sure we're putting all, like, being upfront with what our intended uses are.
Thank you. My concern is, I know that 1 acre across from, on Chestnut, across from the community gardens, there had been some discussions on it being used for another purpose other than just continuation of the trails. Specifically, what I have been hearing and was that that would be an ideal location for a future off-leash dog park, which I believe is permitted under the ALC. It is considered a recreational usage. So I'm just a little bit confused. So the application, will it specify that it will only be for continuation of trails? Thank you.
Councillor Vital, I've heard that as well, and I think this is a really good time to make sure if we go to the ALC, we go with a complete ask and see what the realm of possibilities are. I think the 1 acre parcel, I've heard the same, that it might be a suitable location for an off-leash dog park. I've also heard from staff that it could be a very good place for a public works yard as well. And I know at several council meetings this year, we've heard requests from members of the public for an off-leash dog park. And I'd love to explore opportunities to move on that sooner rather than later. But I think if we have the opportunity to go to the ALC once and just with one $1,500 ask, find out what the full range of potential uses of both parcels are, would be a benefit to council. CAO Cook.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Through you to council. Just to kind of separate the two issues, the first one with respect to the trail use and the recreational uses is rather time sensitive because it's tied to our RDS. We can explore other options, like looking at, we can speak, what I should say is we can speak with the ALC staff when we are making our application to ensure either a dog park does fit within the recreational guidelines. My first impression is I don't think it will. That may require a separate application in its own. And certainly if we were going to exclude the property to be used for a works yard, it would be another application. So what I might recommend is that we're hearing what council is saying regarding the dog park and see if we can't include that in the next application, or sorry, in our application. But if not, it may require a separate application for that 1 acre parcel. And if that was the case, then of course, staff would be coming back to council looking for that permission.
Yeah, the reason I raised the potential for a works yard moving is it just gives us more opportunities or more freedom on the community lands master plan going forward there if there's more room there, if that yard isn't right in that center on the overflow parking block. Councillor Swinbanks.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. Through you to maybe CFO. You know, we mentioned the trails and master plan, and I'm all about trails. I love that idea. But you also have the Resort Development Strategy Committee meeting. Do they have some ideas as to what activities they'd like to do on these 80 acres? Is that something we can talk about tonight, or just kind of curious on that? And second part of that question is, even if we are earmarking that 1 acre for a dog park, there's some big, beautiful trees there, beautiful environment there. I'd hate to see it just mowed down a full acre to allow dogs to run around. I think we should try and maintain as many trees as we can. Obviously, we have to get rid of the undergrowth, but I would hate to see that completely cleared out. I think it would be an eyesore. 2 questions there, sorry.
I think I'll try, and I'll have someone correct me if I go astray. The committee hasn't done its work yet. There are a couple of ideas for that area for recreation, but I don't want to sort of preempt the committee finishing its work as well as getting advice of staff at this time. So it is coming to a future council meeting in the next, well, it's coming to the next one. So if you can be patient, there will be things to consider at that point. And your second question about the off-leash dog park, I would love to be able to explore, or have staff explore some options, even if we have a temporary off-leash dog park for the summer, just to try it out and see how it works. If we can get recommendations from staff on that could be a good thing for the village too.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. And just as a follow-up, maybe question through you to CFO, and we talked about this morning. We're going also through a master plan review, and I think the consensus is that the operations yard is in the wrong spot currently, or it's outlived its location. So I'm wondering if, as part of this proposal, on a separate part of the East Sector lands, we might need to find an acre or two where in the future we can put an operations yard. These applications might take years, and so will our land use strategy. But if we get the ball rolling now, at least we're going to have some options, so that next council and the council after that can consider moving the operations yard to a particular spot. And it may not be in this particular 80 acres that we are earmarking today, but maybe another one. So I'm wondering if we should attach a separate or concurrent application as part of this process.
Thank you, CAO Cook.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, through you to Councillor Swinbanks. What I might recommend is that we stay focused on what the ask is right now, and perhaps in a future date, we could look at coming back to council with another report to highlight locations specific to an additional works yard, or sorry, a new location for the works yard. But I don't know that we need a specific motion. We're going to be having a cow coming up here pretty quick talking about the master plan, so that perhaps that would be an idea to bring it up at that time.
Thank you, CAO. Is that satisfactory, Councillor Schweinbenz? We'll leave it. It's not going away, and I share your view of let's make sure we do some proper planning and know where we have flexibility and what our options might be in the future. Any further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that carries unanimously as well. Corporate Officer.
Thank you. I have a report regarding the Harrison Community Garden lease. Thank you. The village owns a parcel at McCombs Drive and Chestnut Avenue, and the village has had an informal arrangement with the community garden users for the use of the land for over 10 years. Last year, some discussions surrounding ownership of the fence came up, and it brought to staff's attention that the relationship between the community garden users and the village ought to be formalized. And so attached to this report is a lease agreement that was publicly released by a notice of intent to lease as per a resolution of council at a special closed council meeting on April 7th. And so the recommendation is that the Village of Harrison Hot Springs enter into a lease agreement with the Harrison Community Garden Society for a term of 10 years at an annual rental rate of $10 for land legally described as Lot 233, Section 13, Township 4, Range 29, west of the 6th Meridian, Northwest District Plan 66844, PID 002137968.
Move recommendation, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Fascio, seconded by Councillor Vital. Discussion on that motion. Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Next item, Corporate Officer.
Thank you. We have our planning consultant, Ken Cossey, joining us by Zoom tonight. We're moving on to item 15E, which is a report from him regarding 728 Hot Springs Road development permit.
Mr. Cossey, our land use planning, please proceed.
Thank you, Your Worship. Before I begin, I'd just like to state that the 3 applications tonight, there is no sign, no development procedures sign went up for these applications, and that is because the bylaw that we just adopted, these applications came in before that bylaw was adopted. So moving forward, all development applications will be required to follow the new development procedures bylaw. These 3 applications were processed under the older one. So having said that, the first one we have up is 728 Spruce. And the proponents have made an application for development permit such that they can construct a 28-unit condo building with underground parking. The site is located.
Can I interrupt you just to make sure we're reading the right one? I know we have a Spruce Road permit, have something as well, but this one is 728 Hot Springs Road. Is that correct?
So my apologies. Yes, I meant 728 Hot Springs Road.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify.
Yes,
just to make sure we're
thank you.
all on the same page.
As I mentioned, it's for development permit such that they can construct a 28-unit condo building with underground parking. The site is located at 728 Hot Springs Road. The site is currently serviced and is located adjacent to a major roadway that moves traffic in a north-south direction. Currently, there's a single-family dwelling located on this lot. The site is surrounded by tourism commercial activity uses along the north, western, and eastern boundaries of the site. Along the southern boundaries is residential. The eastern portion of the site also butts against Hot Springs Road. Across the street from the lot is a mixture of various residential dwellings. The zoning bylaw requires the inclusion of EV charging outlets at a ratio of 1 charger per 20 stalls. Utilizing this ratio and rounding up, 2 chargers are required. In addition to this, the applicant is required to provide 4 accessible parking stalls and bicycle parking area for up to 6 bikes. The site is currently designated as a tourism commercial area. However, based upon a legal opinion received by the village, the proposed use is compatible with this designation. Therefore, no OCP redesignation is required. In addition to this, the site is in a form and character development permit area as per the requirements of the Tourism Commercial Development Permit area. The requirements of this DP area will be addressed with the issuance of this development permit. And I draw your attention to section 6, number 1 to subsection 1 to subsection 5 on page 67 and 68 of your agenda. That ties in all of those requirements of the design policies. You can see there that we're talking about the building materials and designs must follow certain sheets, and they can't be changed. None of the colors or the materials can be changed unless they get approval from the village. The colors of the materials must be in accordance with the same sheets. And again, if there's any deviation from the use of these colors, the village's prior approval for any deviation is required. The site plan layout as identified must be followed. If there's any deviation from this plan, the village's prior approval for any deviation is required. and the landscaping plan must also be followed. And if there's any deviations from this plan, the village's prior approval for any deviation is required. And a works and services agreement must be entered into with the village of Harrison Hot Springs to address any works and services that will take place off-site as a result of this development permit. This includes, but is not limited to, sewage upgrades, water upgrades, road construction, and stormwater issues. Excuse me. And the landscaping, as we've mentioned, is on page 74. You can just have a quick look at the design of the agenda package. This is what the landscaping plan will look like, and the different types of plants and the quantity of the plants that will be utilized. So with that, your worship, staff is recommending that development permit 0123 be issued to 1387288 British Columbia Limited for property located at 728 Hot Springs Road, Harrison Hot Springs, for land legally described as Lot 60, Section 12, Township 4, Range 29, west of the 6th Meridian, New Westminster District, Plan 44919, parcel identification number 007980337, subject to the following: the registration of a safe, harmless flood covenant that is acceptable to the village on the lot's title. For the installation of or the placement of any signs, they have to follow a comprehensive sign plan, and then must make an application, and it must be approved by the village. The applicant entering into a works and service agreement to address any off-site works required. As we mentioned earlier, the applicant also enter into a works and services agreement to address the landscaping requirements, the registration of a covenant on the lot's title to address the placement of the minimum two EV charging outlets, the creation of 4 accessible parking spaces, and the creation of a bicycle parking area for up to 6 bikes. The village receiving an irrevocable letter of credit, the amount of $489,370. The application be referred to the village's fire department for their comments and recommendations, and any recommendations must be included in the planning review stage on the issuance of a building permit. A report prepared by a competent professional, and please delete with at least 10 years of professional experience. Please delete that sentence, because we've removed that out of the DAI requirements. So it would be a report prepared by a competent professional and accepted by the village that addresses the estimation on the demand to be generated by the proposed development for water and services. And in the case of any phase development, by each phase of the development, an analysis of the existing community water system and the existing community sewer system, and outlining the options available for the supply and delivery of water and the provision of sewer services. Estimate the amount of additional surface drainage that could be generated by the proposed development and the options available for on-site retention, absorption, collection, storage, and dispersal of such drainage, and the identification of, if applicable, the new capital works required for the proposed development of water, sewer, and the drainage systems, and their costs, and the potential funding sources for these expenditures. And having said that, your worship, the applicant's agent is in the audience if there's any questions or answers that the council may have of this application.
Move the recommendation, your worship.
Thank you, Councillor Fascio. And just to clarify, that's moved as recommended with the amendment to H, as in the report, to strike out the words with at least 10 years professional experience. Moved by Councillor Fascio, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Discussion to the motion. Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. I have some concerns. After I kind of drove by and had the opportunity to look at surrounding properties, and also across Hot Springs Road, I do have a concern that this development may not align with the existing neighborhood. A 4-story condo building has the potential to impede on the privacy of adjacent and surrounding properties. Having said that, I'm not totally opposed. What is before us tonight, I don't feel that I have enough information yet to make a good decision. And even though there is no need for a zoning amendment or an APC amendment, I think it would be very worthwhile to refer this to the APC for their recommendations and for them to review it and come back to council. And I also have a concern with the increased traffic that it would cause along Hot Springs Road. So therefore, I would also like to see a referral to MOTI for a traffic study on it. Corporate officer, do you need a motion for that?
Councillor Vital, if I might just jump in, I think with our development information bylaw, we could add a transportation issues and patterns report and have the developer produce that. Is that correct, Mr. Cossey?
Yes, for the applications moving forward, Your Worship. This one, we would have to make a separate motion to put that in there. And it's no longer the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. It's the Ministry of Transportation and Transit now. So it's MOTT.
Thank you, Mr. Cossey. I too had, Councillor Vital, questions about traffic patterns and understanding the changes in demand and traffic on Hot Springs Road, and having a study on that that might inform whether recommendations would go to the Ministry of MOTT on regarding the speed on Hot Springs Road and if it should be lower for people making left turns.
Thank you, Mayor Tal. And then accordingly, I will make the motion then that this proposal be referred to our APC for their review and consideration, and also to MOTT for a traffic study or whatever the term is now. Thank you.
Just before we get to that, a motion amending CAO Cook.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the referral to Ministry of Transportation would only be for access. There would be a requirement to hire a consultant to be able to do the traffic analysis. So I just would recommend that council, you can have the referral to MOTT and just make an additional item that makes it an analysis report be prepared by a professional.
Thank you, CAO Cook. Councillor Vital?
No, thank you, Mayor Tal, and then I'll put those motions then on the floor. Thank you.
Help me here, Corporate Officer. We have a couple of ideas here. One is a referral, and we have the original motion, a motion to amend the original motion to add a transportation study. Look for some guidance here on how to proceed with the request for, or motion to refer to the APC.
Thank you. I believe our planning consultant has his hand up. Ken, if you want to jump in on that.
Mr. Cossey?
Thank you, Your Worship. I would be a little concerned about sending it to the Advisory Planning Commission at this particular point in time. There's no rezoning required, no OCP designation. So we're not too sure what they would be discussing or what your type of information you're looking for. Maybe what you could do is under the development procedures bylaw right now, you can require the applicant to have a community meeting. And you can do that just by asking them to do a community meeting, and then or put that in as a motion, and then we can go out and they can answer all of the questions that they may have to the public on this, because we have to be really careful when we're sending development permits back to the APC for discussion, because we're not really talking about a rezoning here or an OCP redesignation.
Thank you, Mr. Cossey. A suggestion for a community hearing. Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon, through you to our planner. Thank you for your comment and insight on that, Ken. Given your comments, then I will withdraw the motion to send it to the APC, but replace that with a requirement for a community meeting then. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vital. Councillor Schweinbans.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. Do we need to address the referral first before I make comment on other things, or?
Corporate officer, help me out here.
Thank you. Ken, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but per the development procedures bylaw, it would be going to a public information meeting is the recommendation, and then it would come back to council. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Worship.
Thank you. So we would need a seconder to Councillor Vital's motion that the applicant be requested to conduct a public information meeting.
Thank you, Corporate Officer. And then if that motion is seconded and sustained, then this conversation would be picked up after that community information meeting. Is that correct?
Thank you. Yeah, that motion, so the motion on the table to grant the DP, it would be deferred until after the public information meeting.
All right. Can I have a motion on using the right words that the corporate officer said, a community information meeting on this application, and defer discussion on this application until that meeting has occurred? Is that clear enough as a motion on the floor right now? Is there a seconder to that motion? Seconded by Councillor Jackson. Any discussion on that motion? Sorry, Councillor Schweinband.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. I'll continue on to my comments because I think it'll potentially support your motion or not. I think there's a lot to like about this development. I think when people drive in, they're going to see a really nice looking building. I had the opportunity to do a site visit today and talk to the surrounding business owners, and there's good, viable businesses that are on either side of this potential development. And I spoke with them both today, and they are generally supportive as well. Except for a couple of concerns, one concern that they had, and that is with regards to the cement wall exterior that's being proposed. They're concerned that because RVs are parked, currently there's a nice berm of trees and foliage on either side, and RVs are parked on both sides, the north and south, and actually in the back as well, adjacent to the said property. And they don't really want to be looking at just a bare cement wall. They both have asked for some greenery, something that is going to be a buffer. The word biophilic has come up, and that is just more life, more greenery, instead of just a cement wall. Now, on the north side, there's a beautiful new fence that's been built to separate this cement wall and the existing Springs RV park. That's on the north side. On the south side, there's nothing currently except a dilapidated fence. So And both of the people that I talked to today are supportive of this and would like to work with the applicant in trying to come up with a better solution than what we see on the diagrams. So I'm not sure if the applicant wants to talk about that today. Maybe it'll give us some pause to reflect on this and maybe approve or refer to the to a public information session. Perhaps they might like an opportunity today. I'm not so sure. And the other comment that I had is, and I'm not so sure how much of a study is needed, but when you're coming out of the subject property, there is a bend in the fence along along Hot Springs Road to the north of this property, and it could potentially obstruct view of oncoming traffic. So I'm just concerned about viewscape when cars are pulling out. I'm not concerned about volume. It's only 28 units, but I am concerned about traffic. So Mayor, I noticed that the applicant is here. Maybe they can speak to my issue about the wall and maybe alleviate some of our concerns. I'm not sure.
Thank you, Councillor Swinbanks. Mr. Cossey, is the matter Councillor Swinbanks raised, would that be part of the landscaping portions of this conditions?
Yes, Your Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Cossey. I know there's a representative from the developer here. If you, I'd invite you to the podium if you want to speak to the matter of landscaping raised by Councillor Swinbanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Members of Council, my name is Chuck Stam, 45480 Kip Avenue, Chilliwack, and representing the developers and the design firm that prepared the plans for this form and character development permit that's before you this evening. I think Harrison is lucky to have a 28-unit purpose-built rental facility, which is highly needed in this market in terms of accommodation of employees and workers and just the general population as we diversify. The question on the fence, thank you, went back in my notes, and it's proposed to be, the concrete parkade is proposed to be painted Sherwin-Williams steely gray. And the developer would be happy to look at options around greening that wall up. There's 8 to 10 inches between the property line and the parkade wall. Not a lot, but we can work with the neighbors to fancy that up. It'll essentially be a concrete fence. It's about 6 feet tall. So, I can get into all kinds of architectural details and, you know, pump our own tires around the looks of the building, but the pictures speak for themselves.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. If I could, through you to the applicant. Yeah, I guess what I'd like to see is just some cooperation, and both of the property owners surrounding you are willing to work with you. Just something that will look a little bit better, more natural, more biophilic for them, so that the RV campers aren't just backing up to a cement wall. So that there's something aesthetically pleasing. These are two viable, important businesses in town that, you know, we want to support them also. I like the proposal. I think it's excellent and outstanding. It'd be a great addition to our community. Just these walls are a bit of an issue.
Well said and noted.
Councillor Fascio.
Just a word, Chuck, the brick wall you make reference to, is that the ones that they put up now for soundproofing? Similar to those? It cuts out a lot of the sound?
No, these are just concrete arcade walls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I have some comments when Mr. Cham is finished.
CAO Cook, some guidance?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to let you know that Ken has his hand up regarding this discussion for a public information meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Cossey, please proceed.
Thank you, Your Worship. Upon a review of the development procedures bylaw, development permits are not part of the public information notification meeting process. So we could not do that legally.
That's right.
And my apologies to the council for suggesting that.
Okay. So I don't really want to do something that's illegal. That's usually a bad way to start. Councillor Fascio.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I thought that, as we've done this many times before, that public information didn't form part of the development permit. I should like to say that when we did the OCP, which took quite a while, but we did all agree that that should remain a C3 zone, which allows hotels, motels, businesses. That changed from a few years ago. Went to residential, then it was changed to go this route. I fully support this because the council over the last few months have had an open house in discussions to putting in start off with some development on the village lands behind the village office. And one of them is to do with rental and seniors. Now, there's no getting away from it. Whether it's Harrison, Agassiz, or wherever you want to go, staff is a big problem. And trying to get them to work in the area where they can get the job, but they don't have accommodation. I think this would be a very important component to have in that area. According to the latest assessment stats, that Harrison is one of the highest in the Fraser Valley. So it's pretty tough for people to afford a home, when you're making minimum wage or that sort of thing. So I think this is something that should be, would help, certainly help towards people who cannot afford a home to rent a home, work in our community. And Hot Springs Road, whether it's 28 units, come next month, it'll just be streaming with traffic coming with what we want our visitors. So it's always going to be a busy road. It's a highway. It won't change. So I'm fully support the recommendation, and I will stick with the development permit as I just put out there. But I think it's a well worth addition to our community, and I hope that it moves forward. I heard last week that in Vancouver, the building that normally would take 3 to 4 years to build was now built in 14 months due to quick response from the agencies regarding permits and all that sort of thing. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Fascio. Corporate Officer, did I make that motion, or was it Councillor Vital's motion that I was speaking to?
Thank you. So there is a motion on the floor right now, Councillor Vital, seconded by Councillor Jackson, that the applicant be directed to hold a public notification meeting and defer discussion of the development permit until that meeting has occurred. However, we've been advised by our planning consultant that that's not an option, so I would recommend withdrawal of that, and then council can circle back to the main motion, please.
Councillor Vital, are you prepared to withdraw that motion for the public meeting at this time? And the seconder, Councillor Jackson. That motion's withdrawn, which takes us back to the original motion. And I think there's been discussion, obviously, about traffic. Can I get the right words? I would like, obviously, an amendment to the motion that we've heard to include a report by the developer on I think it's transportation issues and patterns report, if I have the right words. Is that correct, Mr. Cossey?
Yes, Your Worship. Traffic flows and patterns.
And that could be added in as an item under one of the subject to the following, a new, wherever it fits in properly, a new J, I guess, at the end.
Yes, your worship, if that's council's desire.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the motion that's in front of us right now to add the preparation, the requirement for the preparation of the transportation issue and patterns report. Seconded by Councillor Fascio. Discussion on that motion to amend the motion that we have in front of us. Councillor Schweinbens.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. I'm supportive of that motion, but I will have one more as well. Thank you.
Any further discussion on that motion to amend? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. So now we have an amended motion and Councillor Schweinbens.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. I just want to echo what Councillor Fascio said. I've got 2 young boys who don't think they're ever going to be able to afford a house or rent a house. And I think this addition to the community would be fantastic. It's within walking distance of our major employers in town, and hopefully it'll be affordable to rent short-term or perhaps to lease or even buy. And I know that it'll be built in a very good quality fashion. But I'd like to move that we add a K section, I think we're at K, that the applicant works with the surrounding property owners on either side to come to a satisfactory solution to the brick wall, fence, biophilia type of solution for their perimeter wall. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Schweinbens. And Mr. Cossey, did you clarify earlier that the landscaping and Councillor Schweinbens' points regarding that in relation to the wall, is that part of the landscaping feature found in D on the motion, or is it something separate?
That is correct, your worship. It is under the landscaping agreement. And so it can be addressed through that process. However, I would not recommend that we go out and talk to the neighbors about this, because we're doing away with your authority.
Thank you, Mr. Cossey. So, Councillor Schweinbens, I think Mr. Cossey is advising that the D requires the village to sign off with an agreement regarding the landscaping, including that area that you spoke of. Would that be sufficient to address your concern on landscaping?
I just want to encourage in the strongest words possible that the applicant and the 2 surrounding neighbors, Mary, James, and then I can't remember the other fellow on the other side, that you come to a solution that doesn't hurt their business, that is satisfactory to everybody. They're supportive of the project in general, but they would like some mitigation, amelioration on the wall idea that they currently have. So if it can't be a motion, then in the strongest words possible, I hope that they can work together with the surrounding neighbors.
I think to date, I think they've been good neighbors. I take Mr. Cossey's point that unless it's something the village has signed off with it, then we're giving another party approval, the authority to stop this process. And I think it's council that has the authority to stop only. And while obviously encouraging people to be good neighbors is appropriate, I think the village having the authority to sign off on the landscaping, it allows the village that control to work with the neighbors and with the developer on it. So I would not encourage a motion to give the neighbors the ability to hold this process up. Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. Through you, perhaps, to our planner. I know the agent mentioned that these would be rental suites, which is very encouraging. But I'm wondering if we can build into the development permit somehow that it will remain as rental units. There is always the possibility, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but always a possibility that the owners may want to revert to ownership of of the rental or ownership of the units. Mr. Cossey, can you put any light on that? Thank you.
Mr. Cossey, is there precedent or an ability to restrict the use?
Yes and no, Your Worship. It's, you can, today, there's a legislation that allows you to set up rental-only areas in the municipality. We haven't done any to date, but that legislation's still there. I would hesitate to use it as a covenant, or even if to get into a housing agreement arrangement. Those would be difficult to do. If the applicant wanted to turn it into a rental only, then he could explore that options, or he could explore that option through the rental only tenure zoning requirements. But right now, it's just up to the individual developer to say that they're going to have 100%, 20%. It's up to their business model. And we could be involved in it, but it could cost the village some money.
Thank you, Mr. Cossey. I, just recently, I've been exposed to a Strata Corp wanting to unwind the Strata Corp, and I think there's bylaws and procedures for either creating a Strata Corp or unwinding, and the little I've seen, it's quite complicated, but I see an agent from the developer who may, if you'd like to speak to this matter about the rental property and its future.
Yes, unrelated to form and character development permit. Just a backgrounder, the developer is going into a partnership with CMHC under a rental agreement, and there's a minimum 10-year cap that the entire facility be rented out. And generally those run forever. They don't change after 10 years once you have it established as a rental building. So that's a requirement of CMHC to as part of the agreement.
Thank you for that clarification and information. Any further discussion on the, Councillor Jackson?
Thank you. Just one comment. It's not our job to manage the market. Rentals come and rentals go. Sometime down the line, investors may want something else. So I think you're going down a slippery slope if you try to decide exactly how long a building is going to be and for what it's going to be for. We just have to let the market work out that. Too much of this is just going too far. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. I'm prepared to call the vote on the amended motion at this time.
Can we have the motion then read just for clarity, Mayor Tallon, please?
Absolutely. Corporate Officer, could you read the motion that we've amended and discussed?
Thank you. So the main motion was moved by Councillor Facio, seconded by Councillor Jackson for the issuance of the DP, and it's as printed with the removal of with at least 10 years of professional experience from item H, and the addition of another condition, J, that the applicant, subject to the applicant providing a traffic flows and patterns report.
Thank you, Corporate Officer. I'll call the vote. All in favor of the motion? And that carries unanimously. Thank you. And thank you for the developer for adding some information and being willing to speak today at our council meeting. When you're ready, Corporate Officer, next item on our agenda, please.
Before we move on to bylaws, there was a late item report from myself regarding a release of closed meeting resolutions.
Please proceed.
Thank you. So the recommendation is that the following closed meeting resolution from the April 7, 2025 special closed council meeting be received for information at tonight's meeting. That Susan Callie and Janice Moffat be appointed to the Communities in Bloom Committee.
So moved, Mayor Tallon.
Moved by Councillor Vital, seconded by Councillor Swinevans. Discussion to that motion. Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. Thank you, Corporate Officer. And the next item on our agenda is 16 bylaws. I'll leave it to you.
Thank you, that's correct. We're moving on to bylaws. We have another report from our planning consultant, this time regarding 285 Spruce Street, which is a rezoning application.
Land use planning consultant, Mr. Cossey, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. This applicant is looking to rezone their lot at 285 Spruce Street from R2 duplex to R3 small lot. This is required before a subdivision application can be processed. In April 8, 2024, the applicant applied for a subdivision of the site, but the proposed parcel sizes did not meet the minimum lot sizes as per the village's zoning bylaw. The approving officer declined this application due to the minimum lot size not being addressed. On January 9th, 2025, the village received a rezoning application to change the lot zone from R2 to R3. Located on the site are two dwelling structures, and I've been led to believe that the structures on the site consist of a cottage built in the 1940s and a 1950s style rancher. The site is currently zoned R2 residential 2 duplex, and upon a review of past zoning bylaws, specifically bylaw 444/1986, the site is zoned R2. This older zoning can explain why the site was used for 2 single-family dwellings. Given the age when the structures were first constructed, it appears that this site has been treated as a legal non-conforming use since at least 1986. And we've just identified bylaw 444/1986 in there for you, showing you what the permitted uses were. The areas or the site is designated as low-density residential, and it meets all of the policies of the low-density residential requirements. And when we're looking at the parking and traffic in the residential areas, we also have to make reference to section 7.3.5, parking and traffic in residential areas. And there is no issues associated with this as well. So with this designation, no OCP amendment is required. There's also, this site is also located within the greenhouse gas emission development permit area. And based upon the current use of the site, 2 dwellings on 1 lot, the proposed use of 1 dwelling per lot will not impact the current services provided to this proposed development. While the site is within the above referenced development permit area, if council approves the zoning amendment, the approving officer can process a subdivision application. However, the approving officer cannot give final approval to the proposed subdivision without the development permit being issued. So when if the approving officer moves that forward, you as council move it forward, it will have to come back to council to issue the development permit at some time in the future. There are no financial considerations associated with this report. So the staff recommendations are, Your Worship, that zoning amendment bylaw number 1225/2025 be introduced and given first reading, and that zoning amendment bylaw number 1225/2025 be given second reading, and that staff be authorized to schedule a public hearing, and that zoning amendment bylaw 1225/2025 be referred to the village's fire department.
Thank you, Mr. Cossey. Could I have a motion regarding the bylaw 1225/2025 be introduced and given first reading? Moved by Councillor Fascio, seconded by Councillor Vital. All in favor? There's no discussion on first reading. All in favor of the motion? And that carries. All opposed? None opposed. I was fast, I'm sorry. Now to the second part of the recommendation. I guess we can take this as am I correct, Corporate Officer? The 3 points can be taken as a single motion. Would you read them out for us so I don't make a mistake? Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. So the second motion there would be that zoning amendment bylaw number 1225/2025 be given second reading, and that staff be authorized to schedule a public hearing, and that zoning amendment bylaw number 1225/2025 be referred to the village's fire department.
I move, Your Worship.
Moved by Counselor Fascio,
Seconded.
seconded by Counselor Vital. Discussion to that motion. Counselor Schweinman.
Thank you, Mayor Talon, through you to Mr. Cossey. I've been reading through this, and I'm just not sure what the intent is. What are they trying to build on this, if anything? Or is it just a rezoning application?
Basically, the way to look at it, it's a rezoning application, but they'll be making it a legal conforming lot. Right now, it is treated as a legal non-conforming.
Thank you. And Mr. Cossey, do you have a feeling that they're intending to do something? That's my first question. And what is allowed on an they want to go to R3. What is allowed on an R3 in that community, in that subdivision?
Mr. Cossey?
Yes, Your Worship. What's allowed in there is a detached dwelling and accessory buildings or structures associated to that detached dwelling. So they'd be making the lots legal conforming, and they could put on there, because we haven't seen a building permit application yet. All they can put on there is a single detached dwelling and their accessory buildings.
I had the same questions, Councillor Swinbands. If you look on the bylaw, the zoning bylaw, you'll see a comparison in boxes, a whole grid of the differences between R1, R2, R3, R4, R5, et cetera, and the commercial ones as well. CAO Cook.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. If I could just provide some clarifications, because I'm seeing Councillor Swinbands as being, looking confuzzled over there. So right now, there are 2 homes on this lot. What they're doing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, what they're wanting to do is create a subdivision that puts 1 house on each lot, which makes it conforming. The existing homes at this time, from what I understand, are going to remain. If they choose in the future to demolish a home, they could potentially, or I guess even if they kept the existing homes, they could put an accessory dwelling or accessory building, sorry, which would be like a garage or a shed. Am I going down the right path there, Ken?
That is correct.
Thank you, CAO.
So might we see in the future then one of these monster homes on this property? Do you think they're trying to do that? That's one possible scenario. And the other is I noticed that the property to the north of it has a small house on an angle on it. It's also for sale. Is this part of a land assembly perhaps? I just want to get a sense of what's happening here because I'm not sure.
Anyone, Mr. Cossey, can you provide any clarification?
Yes, Your Worship. I'm unsure what we mean by a monster house because the lot coverage is they're only allowed to go up to 55% with the R3 zone. So they can't make, I don't know how we classify that as a monster home. And as well, they would have to follow all of the height requirements, the setback requirements of the R3 zone. So basically what this exercise is all about is they're taking one lot that is legal non-conforming and turning it into 2 legal conforming lots.
And this arose because if I read the background, they attempted to divide the lot with the R2 zoning, but the lot was too small, so making it R3 allows for a subdivision. Is that sort of?
That is correct, Your Worship.
I found it very creative how we have legal non-conforming land use, but I'm happy to have it resolved in the future. Councillor Fascio.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just through you to Mr. Cossey, would I be correct in saying that R3 is a small lot? And if you look to the corner of Eagle Street, there's a perfect example of an R3 where 3 homes were built on the lot there. So that gives you an idea what you can do on an R3 lot. smaller lots, not massive houses, but you can put there's a perfect example we can do, and Harrisburg, opposite the village office, that's all R3 there as well. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And the motion before us includes scheduling a public hearing where all these questions we can actually ask of the proponent here, the developer. So we don't need to guess, we can actually ask straight up. Any further discussion on the motion? Councillor Swinburne.
To my fellow council members, this might be the first instance where we put a rezoning sign on for our new bylaw, our signing bylaw. Is that right?
Mr. Cossey, you said these are the ones that are still on the old rules because they came in before. So is this one that is captured by the new sign bylaw, or does it predate it?
This predates, your worship, it predates the bylaw, so the no sign yet. But the next application that we receive has to have a sign. These are the last three.
Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Cossey. I'll call the vote on the motion before us. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Cossey. I think you have another matter, the next item.
Thank you. Yes, we have a report from our planning consultant regarding 442 Lillooet Avenue, rezoning and redesignation amendments.
Mr. Cossey, over to you.
Thank you, your worship. The applicant is looking to rezone their lot from R3 small lot to C1 village commercial and to redesignate the current official community plan designation from medium density to village center. The two applications are required as the applicant wishes to set up a professional services commercial operation while still residing in the dwelling. The professional services that will be provided include legal advice and a notary office. The site is currently zoned R3 residential small lots, and the immediate property adjacent is also zoned R3. Outside of this, the eastern properties are zoned as R2, and Spring Park is located along the southern portion of the lot. To the north and the west of the lots are properties that are zoned for commercial operations. Located on this site is a single-family dwelling that was constructed in 2018. The site is fully serviced and is approximately 0.15 hectares, 6,500 square feet in size. The current official community plan designation is medium density residential, and this current designation does not work for this type of use within this type of designation. A redesignation to another designation is required in order for this type of use to be developed on this lot. Listed below are the objectives of the proposed OCP designation, and what we're suggesting, your worship, is that it go to the village center area, because in this area you have a range of commercial, residential, and public uses are promoted. So we're proposing that the village center designation is a better fit for this proposed uses. The site is also within the greenhouse gas emissions development permit area and the multifamily development permit area. However, as the dwelling has already been built, no development permit is required at this time. With respect to some potential impacts, when we first looked at it, as you can see there on the diagram with the red circle, staff had some concerns that on-site parking stalls may be required and could take up away from the parking that's already on Lillooet Avenue. And in addition to that, we were also concerned about commercial creep slowly moving into the residential areas. So what we've done is on the potential use of all the commercial uses for this area, the bylaw that's in front of you this evening is limited to the commercial operation of a business and professional offices only. This would allow the applicant to set up the required legal and notary service establishment only. And while there's no actual size of the gross floor area of the business and professional proportions has been identified within the application, in my discussion with the applicant, the proposed business area is estimated to be approximately 28 square meters of the dwelling. So as per our zoning bylaw, the applicant can secure the required parking spaces through the use of can secure the required parking spaces, or they can just address the zoning bylaw on-site requirements. And in this case, the applicant has a two-car garage with one space available at this time and the possibility of providing two parking spaces in the driveway. So the off-site or off-street parking requirements have been addressed. So with that, your worship, we are recommending that zoning amendment bylaw 1226, 2025 be introduced and be given first reading, and that zoning amendment bylaw 1226, 2025 be given second reading, and that official community plan redesignation amendment bylaw number 1227, 2025 be introduced and be given first reading, and that official plan amendment bylaw 1227, 2025 be given second reading, and that staff be authorized to schedule a public hearing for a zoning amendment bylaw 1226, 2025, and the official community plan redesignation amendment bylaw number 1227, 2025, and that zoning amendment bylaw 1226 and 1226, 2025, and the official plan redesignation amendment bylaw 1227, 2025 be referred to the Ministry of Transportation and Transit. And before there's any discussion, your worship, the applicant is in the audience to answer any questions that council may have of her in this application.
Thank you, Mr. Cossey. Move first reading by Councillor Fascio, seconded by Councillor Schweinbenz. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. Shall we proceed like we did in the last one with the second reading and the other ones all as a package? Does that make sense, Corporate Officer?
Thank you. There are two first readings to be given for the two bylaws, one for the zoning amendment 1226 and one for the OCP 1227. So was that first reading for just the zoning or for the OCP?
Let's just start with the first of the rezoning, and we'll seek a motion for first reading of the OCP amendment. Is there a motion to that effect? Moved by Councillor Schweinbenz, seconded by Councillor Jackson. All in favor of that first reading? And that also, thank you, Corporate Officer. So the first readings are out of the way, so now we have second readings and other authorizations. What would be your recommendation as to how to proceed?
Thank you. Yeah, you can give them both second reading in one motion. You could give them both second reading and authorize the public hearings for both of them and the referral to the Ministry of Transportation and Transit as well. It depends on what councils wish, but they can all be taken together separately.
Thank you, Corporate Officer. I think they're all intertwined. One doesn't stand without the other, so they should go as a package. Can I have a motion to?
Who moves, Your Worship?
Seconded by moved by Councillor Faccio, seconded by Councillor Schweinbenz. Discussion on that motion. Councillor Schweinbenz.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. I'm in favor of this. I think we're going to see more of this. People are working from home more. They want to commute less. People are skilled and they have professional services, and they want to do it out of their homes. I think it cuts down on commuting, and I think it's a fantastic addition to our community to have these services. So that I'm supportive of it. I'm curious, Mr. Cossey, why it needs to be referred to Ministry of Transit. I'm just trying to cut down on red tape. Is that something we require or they require?
No, your worship, the legislation requires that anything within 800 meters of a controlled highway has to be approved by the Ministry of Transit or Transportation and Transit. So it's in the Local Government Act.
Thank you.
Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Talent, through you to perhaps our CAO. Should this go through, then can you confirm that they would require a business license, which then would require an inspection by the fire department? Is that correct?
CAO Cook, can you?
Thank you,
help
Your
us?
Worship. We would go through yes, it would require a business license, and the inspection would be up to the inspector. He may fall upon previous inspections from a building permit, but likely he will be on site to have a look.
Thank you. And through you, Mayor Talent, to our planner. Mr. Cossey, could you explain once again, just for clarity, that even though staff was concerned about changing this designation, but you indicated that we could put on that it would be restricted to only certain businesses, or am I correct in that? Thank you.
Mr.
Ye-
Cossey?
Yes, Your Worship, that is correct. The way we've worded the bylaw is it's for if you go to page 85, item 2C, it states under the C1 zone development regulations for the commercial uses, the following number 13 is inserted in the notes section. For land legally described as Lot 1, Section 13, Township 4, Range 29, west of the 6th Meridian, New Westminster District Plan, EPP 73256, PID 030-244-803. The village commercial C1 uses are limited to businesses and professional offices only.
Thank you, Mr. Cossey.
Thank you, Mr. Cossey. That was helpful.
Question, Mr. Cossey, from myself. The current zoning is R3, and R3 doesn't permit home-based occupations. Is that correct?
It could with a zoning amendment, but at this particular point in time, no, it does not.
And if it was zoned R2, that would permit home occupations?
Yes, Your Worship. R1, R2, and R4.
Could you explain why the recommendation is to rezone it as C1 instead of R2?
I discussed that home occupation option with the applicant, and the applicant wanted to go through this route. And in either situation, we're achieving the same outcome.
Thank you for the clarification. Any further discussion? I'll call the vote on this motion. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Cossey. Corporate Officer, the next item.
Thank you. The next three items do not have reports associated with them, so I'll read the recommendations. The first one is item 16C, and the recommendation is that waste collection and disposal amendment bylaw number 1222-2025 be adopted.
Move, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Fascio, seconded by Councillor Schweinbenz. Discussion. I'll call the vote. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Next item, Corporate Officer.
The next recommendation is that miscellaneous fee amendment bylaw number 1224-2025 be adopted.
Moved by Councillor Vital, seconded by Councillor Schweinbenz. Discussion on that. I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. And the next one, Corporate Officer.
The next one is item E. The recommendation is that bylaw notice enforcement amendment bylaw number 1223-2025 be adopted.
Moved by Counselor Vital, seconded by Counselor Swinebenz. Discussion on that. I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. Which takes us to new business. Is there any new business? I don't believe there's new business. Notices of motion. I believe there's a notice of motion. Corporate Officer, is that over to you?
Thank you. Yes, so this is our first time with notice of motion on the agenda, so I will read it out. So I received a notice of motion from Councillor Vital today. The motion is as follows. Whereas the annual Terry Fox Run will take place in the Village of Harrison Hot Springs on Sunday, September 14, 2025, and whereas the event is a volunteer run event with the goal of raising funds for cancer research, therefore be it resolved that the Village of Harrison Hot Springs waive all fees and charges related to hosting the Terry Fox Run. And with this notice of motion, this will form part of the minutes of today's meeting and will be on as new business at the next regular council meeting.
So moved, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Fascio, seconded by Councillor Swinebenz. No, we don't move or do anything because it's on our next agenda. Is that right? No. So it's the first time with a new agenda. So you have to wait 2 weeks and we'll talk about it, and you can, I'll remember, Councillor Fascio, how you wanted to move this. Is that all of notions, notice of motion? This takes it to 19 on our agenda, which is question period for items pertinent to the agenda. Are there any questions from anyone in the gallery tonight? Anyone online, Tyler, that has a question?
Anybody on Zoom, if you have a question, just raise your hand. No questions, Your Worship.
Please proceed.
I couldn't come here and be quiet. I have a couple of issues. This is interesting because I guess maybe 3 issues, because thanks to these, I'm hearing the meeting through, through the headphones. Now the sender does have a place where I could plug in my streamer, which I'll try next time, because that works a lot better and it's interesting. So my thanks to the tech people for your perseverance and how you managed to get something to stay in sync all the way through. I don't know, but it's quite good. I guess my questions, I'd like to, I've looked through all of the information with respect to the community gardens, and they must be a non-profit society. I didn't see anything in the document itself that indicates how they get their revenue. Do they charge people for these places? They must get some revenue, otherwise how can they meet the obligations that they're required there? So is there a revenue? And if there is, there's an annual report required by non-profit societies, and they should be able to provide you each year with a copy of that report, because they must be a society in good standing. It's just a point. But where's their revenue?
Obviously, the society themselves would speak to their financing. What was before council was a lease for the community garden, the land there, and that relationship formalized. This is a new society. I think working with staff, they encouraged the unorganized society to actually organize under the Societies Act and clarify that relationship with the village, which I think the village staff and council are very happy that that relationship has been formalized and the society is up and running. But questions regarding the society's financing are matters for the society, I think, to speak to. And they haven't been around for a year, so they haven't filed financial.
Well, there has to be some revenue because they've got considerable obligations under this. lease arrangement, and it just it wasn't obvious that if you wanted to get a garden there, that you'd have to apply to somebody, to them, I guess, and then you'd have to pay something. That's the only way they could survive on this deal. Okay, that's the one question. The second one has to do with my sore point. There was a development proposal before you today, and there was a motion to send it to the APC. And if you hearken back to my letter of resignation, I did raise other issues. And I think that this was a perfect example of what I was trying to get at. Council needs an extra set of eyes. Your APC could do that if you expanded their terms of reference to allow them. Right now, there is such a restriction on what should go to the APC. Tonight's a perfect example. There was no reason to send it to the APC, and yet there were some good arguments why it should go to the APC. But you'd have to expand their role and not be so confined, because under the present restrictions that you're operating, I can see a lot of developments coming and going and coming and going, and the APC is rotting in the background. So I'm really quite concerned, and I guess related to that development, I have to say, and I don't want to get personal, but I think it was quite inappropriate for a member of council to take it upon himself to go and talk to the neighbors of a proposal that hasn't even been before council yet. I don't think that was the right way to go. I think it was inappropriate. And that's not your role at that point. And that's just a little slight tap. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for your comments. I do recall your resignation letter and your arguments for expanding the role of the Advisory Planning Commission. Tonight, I think maybe was a good example of there was legal advice sought by staff and an application that conformed with the official community plan and conformed with the zoning bylaws. So I struggle to know what value the APC would add to a deliberation on that if in fact it is in conformity with those things. Obviously, if there's a change to zoning or something is seeking an exemption or variance to the zoning or the official community plan, then absolutely the APC could provide valuable advice. But if a developer is conforming with the terms and the rules that the village has laid out through its bylaws, I think I'm comfortable relying on staff and the advice they get to advise us whether it's in conformity. And if it is, then it's in conformity. And I'm willing to accept that. But I do note your comments in the past and your resignation letter. We do thank you for your time and service on the APC, and appreciate you taking the time tonight to speak to it as well.
I respect your points, and I know why the decisions were made, and there's no reason why the APC should be trying to correct the staff or that sort of thing. That's not the point. I think there is something in there, what the responsibility of council has when they're proposing it or approving any of these developments is the form and character of the neighborhood. That's a sort of a general comment that applies, and somewhere along the line, some form of design guidelines are coming forward, and that'll help, perhaps, depending on how it's done. The design guidelines, as they're stated right now are scary because you've got many pages of subjective opinion, not just objective. Anyway, I've overstayed my welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Fascio to adjourn, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Discussion. All in favor? And we are adjourned. Thank you all.